Hey everybody, thank you for listening or watching actually right now. This is the Sunrise Pod brought to you by Suns Jam. It's a little kind of like going around the NBA, just kind of catching up on what's going on throughout the week. And just, I know we talk about the Suns all the time, but we do watch the NBA as well. And I want to give our point of take. This episode will just be me. John will likely be on the other ones. We might have some other pod guests as well, but let's get into it. Let's go around the NBA really quick.
Around the NBA in 90 seconds.
Around the NBA last night, I think the biggest game was the Spurs versus the Warriors, and this is what went down.
NBA defensive. It's into Wemby with a jackhammer. Rocks the rim. Fouled on the play. Words after it. Golden State.
So Wemby went at it with Draymond. The Warriors, it seemed like a game that the Spurs were going to win. The Warriors pulled away in the end, and it wasn't even Wemby taking the final shot for the victory. If you watch the game, Steph Curry did hit the game-winning free throw, but after that, there was a chance for the Spurs to win the game, but De'Aaron Fox took the final shot. I think that Fox is a guy that he's complimentary. He is, but he's a guy that I feel like still might get traded. He's not my favorite asset for that team. I know he can score. I know he can dish, but right now that team's just so young. I feel like Fox is a good trade asset. But we do have 90 seconds, so let's move to the next thing. The next thing is actually New Orleans Pelicans have dismissed head coach Willie Green after a 2-10 start to the season. League sources tell me, which is Chris Haynes actually reporting that. And, Willie Green did get off to a bad start to the season. But it's one of those things that he was having an awful time with that team even staying healthy. Before he was a assistant coach with the Phoenix Suns, he had his little run there in the playoffs against the Phoenix Suns. He fell short, of course, after the first round exit, where the Suns had a tough time getting past the Pelicans. But ever since then, Zion was not staying healthy. It was a team that had troubles really just finding themselves. I think the lineups always look good. I think the jerseys look good at times. There's a whole fresh look there with the Pelicans. But right now it's about finding somebody else that can kind of get this team moving. I think the injuries are obviously something you can't help, but it's also something that kind of just unfolds when you're just an unhealthy team. It doesn't seem like it's something that can be fixed right now this season, but over the years, maybe some trade assets in Zion and some other guys that maybe CJ McCollum's going to be moved this year. It's a team that needs to kind of get their shit together. And I think that makes up for the 90 seconds. So let's go ahead and play the outro.
Around the NBA in 90 seconds.
And I'm actually going to time myself going forward, but this is the first episode, so I'm just kind of working out the kinks. I do want to talk about, too, Draymond Green and the Warriors. This is a team that kind of called out some supposed teammate. Maybe it was Podziemski. Maybe it was actually someone else on the team. But him and Jimmy Butler, after the last game that they lost, they've now won 2 against the Spurs. They called out just kind of selfishness on the team. Since then the Warriors are 2-0, it's still a scary team for sure out west. And if you look at the standings right now, 2 in the top 6 of the West, they're currently not in it, but right now you have OKC. They're 12-1 on top of the whole league. They won. They can pretty much go undefeated this year. It seems like the Denver Nuggets they're 9-2. The Rockets are 8-3 after their victory last night too over my Portland Trailblazers, a team that I really was fond of this year. We'll talk about in a little bit. The Los Angeles Lakers are 9-4. We'll talk about obviously the exit of Nico over in Dallas. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 8-4. It's a team that, they're kind of springing right now. They're a team that a lot of if you're watching them, like you really just see kind of Julius Randle kind of unfold as the actual guy on the team. And he's been heroic on that team as of late. And like I was saying earlier, with a lot of these teams out west, it took a little bit to kind of get going. The Thunder obviously were on a roll. The Rockets started out slow. The Nuggets were having a kind of a tougher time than you thought. But when you're trying to catch up to the Thunder for that number 1 seed, it almost seems like impossible. And the Spurs right now, they lost 2 in a row, and they were to the Warriors, both the games. They are 8-4 at the 6th seed. And right now, too, at the 7th seed, it's the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, they're making their way. They're making their way out of the play-in tournament, and hopefully within the next week, maybe a number 6 or 5 seed, depending on how, if they can keep this up. And obviously they have a lot of momentum. If you're looking out east, though, there's a fun team I'm going to talk about, and they're my Spotlight Crew. And it's a segment. Spotlight Crew is just a team that I've been fond of, been watching this last week or so, maybe the following day. And it's just a team that really no one expected, except for me.
Matthews Spotlight Crew. The Detroit Pistons.
The Pistons were actually a team that I picked to go to the Eastern Conference Finals to start the season. I don't usually call myself out on things and if I'm wrong on things, but when I'm right, I'm right. So they're 11-2 to start the season. But I do think that, they have a lot to actually improve on. I think Cade Cunningham had a ton of missed shots last game. But obviously, defensively, they're looking good. They're one of the best rebounding teams, of course, in the league. But behind what Cade Cunningham's doing right now in this year, where I think it's a year that a lot of teams have an opportunity to really move up in the standings, but also in the playoffs to kind of steal something this year, right? With the Celtics gone, you have almost every opportunity out east to really just kind of manufacture a decent season, get to the playoffs and see what happens. Right now, I do actually kind of predict that the Pistons and the Knicks will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. Those are my two favorite teams out east. Obviously, you have Giannis with the Milwaukee Bucks. That's still an MVP case we can get into later. But if you look at the East, the Detroit Pistons are 11-2. They're top of the East, like I said. But then the Knicks are creeping up behind them at 8-4. They're looking good. Their offense is gelling. They're actually behind Mike Brown. It's something that we kind of expected, a team that was going to be high flying on the offensive end. Hopefully they're not getting too many minutes heading into the playoff. That'd be great because those guys need some rest. Obviously playoffs last year, they looked super tired and they were just having a hard time just kind of getting things going, and they look like they were exhausted. So hopefully when they get to the playoffs this year, they're just not overexerted and they're just going to have maybe an easier first or second round until they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, because last year they did play the Pistons in the first round. Pistons put up a fight, and that's who I expect them to face in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are 8-5 at the 4 seed. The Milwaukee Bucks, like I mentioned before, behind Giannis is 8-5. And those surprising 76ers, where I don't know if they can get rid of Embiid, that's a team that is, I think that they're fun to watch. But now that BJ Edgecombe has kind of come down to earth, it seems like a team that might unfold to be something fun to watch, but maybe not a title contender, even though it seemed like in the beginning Tyrese Maxey was maybe an MVP candidate, which I think he'll be in the mentions. I don't think he's a guy that's going to win it, obviously, when you have Jokic and you have another guy in SGA that are obviously going to be the top two guys. But what he was doing with that team early on, it's great. But when you have Paul George come in and you have, I think even with Paul George coming back, it's something that you kind of worry about because of the touches, like who's going to have a limited amount of touches now and the shots, but who knows if he even comes back and plays for this team, because he could be a trade piece too and an asset for another team. But he's a guy that's making $50 million a year, which is going to be incredibly hard for another team to take on. And that's also Joel Embiid, who has this his 4-year contract, $52 million starting this year. It's going to be impossible for anybody to actually kind of retain that guy and just have him as an asset on a championship winning team. Because I know a lot of us are looking at maybe the Warriors taking him on or something like that, but the guy cannot stay healthy. So it'd be nice to kind of move past him. Now let's get into my Spotlight Stealer. This is my favorite player so far this year.
Matthew Spotlight Stealer goes to Deni Avdija.
Deni is my favorite. 26.1 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 4.6 assists this year he's averaging. He's a guy that's been decent in recent past, but I think last year he really took on a big role with the Portland Trailblazers being the number one guy. Right now he looks like an all-star. That team with the Portland Trailblazers, they are 6-6 after 12 games. He's played all 12 games. He's been there and making sure that this team is kind of riding behind him. They're a young team. They're kind of taking teams by surprise. But it's a team that is a play-in team. I don't think it's going to be anything more than that. I don't think it's going to be a top 6 team out west. I think they're going to be fun to watch like a lot of these teams out west, but they don't have what it takes, I feel like, right now to have that extra guy to help Deni alongside. I know you have Grant on the team that is not happy. He's probably a guy that might be moved. And if he's not happy and he's playing, the way he's playing is good. But if he's not happy and didn't want to come back, it'd be nice to kind of move on from him. But right now, that Portland Trailblazers team is hard capped at the first apron, so it's going to be tough for anything to happen there. Before we exit this pod, these are going to be really quick pods. They're probably going to be about 10 to 15 minutes. I want to get into the news of the week, and this is Nico Harrison that he left. He exited Dallas after he just destroyed that franchise by trading Luka Doncic. I'm sure everyone is sick and tired of hearing about it, but I do want to talk about Kirk over at, let me see here. Kirk Henderson over at Mavs Moneyball. He did actually let out a video just showing his frustration, and then the comments of Charles Barkley kind of getting into the aspects of it's not Nico. It was the owner making the decisions there. So let's play the video and then my reaction to that.
Nico Harrison is not a fucking scapegoat. And if that's what you think, like Charles Barkley here, then you're an idiot.
But the thing that bothers me is he's just being made a scapegoat. Listen, Shaq knows this, Kenny knows this. There's no way in the world Nico Harrison had the power to trade Luka Doncic unless the owner of the team signed
Patrick
off.
Dumont.
Yes, that was his call.
I honestly, in the beginning, I did kind of agree with, so I am a fucking idiot probably, but I did kind of agree with what Charles was saying, where it was maybe the owner, but they were in it. They used to obviously play basketball. They knew how the GMs and the owners interacted, but Nico was very hands-on. He did actually have a lot of the input, obviously, with the trades in the past, where it got to the finals, where it got the Mavericks to the finals. And you realize that it's not going to be something where I can put a conspiracy theory on this thing and say it's the owner or Adam Silver who was making the trade last year. It's just absolutely nuts to actually look back to last year and to think that I was thinking that Luka was a trade piece to get the NBA back on, I feel like, I guess, in our eyes, and just to make sure that we were watching. Because right then and there at that time when the trade happened, I don't think I was as into basketball as I am this year and then the end of last year. After the Luka trade, it kind of woke me up a little bit more. But maybe that was because I am a Suns fan and the Suns sucked in the last 2 years. Have been definitely very difficult. And now going into this year, it's been like the best few weeks of the start of any kind of season that I can remember. But to go back to the Nico thing, I think that Nico had to be let go. But what sucks, and to kind of think about every day waking up, and I'm not even a Dallas Mavericks fan, but to think that Luka Doncic was actually traded, it's still one of the most insane things that will ever go down in history. That's why it's worth mentioning now, talked about now, even after the firing happened earlier this week, is because this is something that you can talk about on and on and on and on, and you never get sick of it, because it's one of the weirdest things that's ever happened. And to think of a fan base that had a Luka Doncic, they just do not now. It's just very depressing to me, and I do feel bad for them, even though they won a championship, even though they were kind of rivals with the Suns in the Nash era. That's something that I can't get over. And I think the fact that Nico had all his hands all over this, and the fact that he just met with Rob Pelinka separately, and he was definitely just kind of doing this on the low, not letting anybody know because he knew it was going to be a bad idea. He obviously did not have the guys healthy this season too, with Kyrie Irving and with Anthony Davis. Those guys did not play. Anthony Davis played a few games here and there, but he's been hurt. So you can never see his real plan unfold. But having said that, having to trade Luka Doncic is just depressing. So this might be the last time I talk about it, because I think Nico has destroyed that franchise. But it's kind of just intriguing to realize, moving forward, like anything can really happen in the NBA. In Phoenix here, we love Devin Booker, but that's also a guy that is tradable. Like, I don't feel like there's anything that you can put down on paper and just kind of say, hey, like, this is actually not going to happen, because it's going to happen. There are a lot of trades in the future that are going to blow our mind, but this one with Luka Doncic is absolutely the worst. So I thank everybody for joining me today. I know it's Saturday early and Notre Dame is on, so I know John is watching that right now, but this is a pod that's going to be a morning pod. It's going to be maybe a recap of the NBA, the Suns, whatever happened the night before or the week before when we do go live. So I appreciate you guys watching. They're going to be quick videos. Hit the like, subscribe button, and make sure to join us next time.